I was 16, and me and my friends, I'll call Evan and Jake, wanted to rent a hotel for the night since it was spring break. We got to the hotel and checked in. It had a really funky smell, but we stayed there. Once we got to our room, it was about 3 p.m., so we decided to take a dip in the pool. It was downstairs, departed from the hotel. Once we got to the entrance, there was a man at least 6'3" in all black with a hood covering up his face, facing us. I panicked, little, but not out loud. We got into the pool and swam for a few hours until we saw the man again, all black, sitting on a chair by the pool. I cleared my throat. Can I help you, sir? I asked. No response, but I was still a little paranoid. I put my face in the water, and at the bottom of the pool was another figure that was all black. I screamed like a little girl and ran out of the pool and for the door. I looked back and saw nothing. Not the guy in the chair or the guy under the pool. My friends thought I was just seeing things, but I saw what I saw as clear as water. I didn't feel like swimming anymore, so I decided to get dinner at a nearby restaurant. I got a table for me and my friends to sit at, and there I saw once again the man in all black on the other side of the dining room and was staring at me. I've had enough. I went over there and I lost track of him again, and he took off. After we ate, I decided this trip has gone too far, and we should leave tomorrow, but my friends didn't like the idea. Once it was about 10:30, I and my friends dozed off in the hotel room. I woke up to some weird noises, and I saw a shadow of a figure at the end of my bed. I calmed myself down and told myself that it was my hat, and I put it there before I went to bed. I went to bed and got woken up again 30 minutes later to more noises. I was getting so thirsty, so I reached under the bed and tried to grab my water bottle, but I grabbed something and I was totally shocked by what I grabbed. It was my hat. I was not ever more scared of my life than that moment. I didn't know what to do, so I screamed at the top of my lungs, and when I heard a voice next to my ear say, "Damn it," I jumped out of bed and realized it was two men in black right there. I tried to fight them, but it was no use. Once they grabbed me and dragged me out of the room. I tried to scream, but that guy was covering up my mouth. I passed out and was woken up on a stretcher. It turned out those guys knifed me while I passed out, and someone caught them somehow. But the doctor said no one could catch the guys who got me once they took off. To this day, I always have a nightlight at night, so I'm not scared. So this happened to me when I was 12 years old and in the 6th grade, and listening to my teacher. Sometimes I'm just always quiet, but one day I was on my 6th period, which is gym, and we had to do laps. Then when I get to the end, we made a turn, and then there was this big fence, and then I was running. I saw a 30-year-old looking guy waving with a weird grin, but couldn't tell who he was waving at. So I kept on running. Gym was over, so I packed up and got ready to leave to go home. When I was going to the gate in the front and then exit, I saw the same guy. Now he was looking at me, and he was not grunting no more. He was smiling now, so I started to speed walk because I was getting scared. After I got far from my school, I turned back and did not see him, so I was relieved. When I was walking, a blue car pulled up to me and rolled down its window a little bit. I couldn't see his face. All I heard is his voice. He said, "You look like a nice kid and a smart kid." I just smiled and said thank you, and then he said my full name. I was shocked and then told him how he knew my name, and then he rolls his window all the way down, and it was the same guy with the creepy smile. I ran and turned back, and his car was still just sitting there. I was only 5 minutes away from my house, so I kept running. And after I made it to my house, I was sweating and my hands were shaking. And then about 5 minutes later, I went outside and locked all my doors and windows and slept in my bed. I woke up and wanted to see what time it was, and it was 11:32 p.m. and I was so thirsty, so I got up and got a cup of water. By the time I went to the fridge to get a cold water, I heard a knock, so I went to see who it was. And what I saw shocked me. In the window, I saw the smiling guy with an item in his hand. I could not see it because the outside lights were off, and I thought I was going to faint. I ran to my mom and dad's room and tried to open it. It was locked, so I banged loud. So they got mad at me for waking them up, and I told them there's a creepy guy outside the house, so my dad went out to look, and I was staying in the room with my mom. And when my dad said he saw nothing and then heard a sound, it scared him. So he went back out, and I was still staying with mom. And then I heard a scream, and then my mom called the police, and the police arrived, and my dad holding the man down as he laid there with a kitchen knife in his hand and was trying to break my window. The police arrested him and took him in. After 2 days, the police gave the information to my dad of what happened. So my dad told me this guy's been stalking me every time I walk home from school and has been watching me in my window. I tried to tell my friends, but none of them believed me. I'm now 14 years old, and what would have happened if I kept sleeping and did not tell my dad? Who knows? The guy would have broken my window and done God knows what to me. So, weird creeper, stalker from 6th grade, let's never meet again. So, this story didn't happen to me, it happened to my mother. I was just scrolling around on another spooky reader's channel. Sorry, Unit 522, please don't hate me. When I saw a video called Creepy College Stalker Stories. That title immediately caused me to remember something my mom told me once. I was a lot younger at the time, about 12 or 13, so I didn't think of it much. My mother is 55 years old, and I'm currently 17. Now that I come to think about it, her story is a lot creepier than I first thought. I recall what caused her to start talking about this event, but let's go. Let me start off by saying at the time of the story, my mother was going to college at Texas Tech. She was getting a law degree. I forgot which year she was in. One night, my mom was walking back from her tennis team's practice, thinking that she was all alone. There was no one on the streets, and the streetlights were on. At this point, she started to feel suddenly uneasy and decided to take a glance behind herself. What she saw made her become very, very wary. A tall man was walking behind her a few meters away. I recall her mentioning that it wasn't strange to see another young adult walking around at night, but this person didn't seem very young. Judging by the man's build, he was estimated to be around 30 or 50 years old. It definitely was not a college professor, since most of them aren't out at this time of the night, and are much shorter than this man. Just to double check that this was just a normal pedestrian and not a creeper, my mother decided to pick up the pace. She was now at speed walking pace down the street. A loud sound of shoes hitting the ground behind her caused her to turn around and see the tall man was now sprinting towards her. Noping the hell out of there, my mom booked it. Due to her being very athletic, she managed to stay a good 5 to 7 meters ahead of the guy. He too was quite fast, taking a sharp turn around the corner and running into her apartment building. Her apartment was on the ground floor. She quickly unlocked the door and ran inside and locked it. My mom didn't turn on the light, so the man wouldn't think she was in there. Next to the door, there was 2 large windows with see-through curtains. Peeking through the window, she saw the man approaching her apartment. Thinking quickly, my mom purposefully fell to the floor and shuffled next to the wall, laying there so in case he were to look in, he wouldn't see her. Yup, that's exactly what he did. Look through the window. Apparently, his shadow could be seen through the, quote, curtains as he leered in. The guide stayed there for what seemed to be like 20 to 30 minutes before backing away. A note was slipped under the door, and then he was gone. My mom didn't get up until she knew for a fact he was indeed gone. Getting up and looking around, she double-checked to make sure the man was gone. He was definitely gone. Feeling relieved that the guy had left my mother, she decided to see what was on the paper. A piece of paper was blank with a few words written largely in the middle. The note read, "A hard man is good to find." Apparently, the creep had reverbed an old saying, "A good man was hard to find," to that. Yeah, my mom went to the police the next day and filed a report. They took her statement and the note and said they'd keep an eye out. I don't recall if she found out if they caught the guy or not. The world will never know.